Alright my friends, this video is not scripted. I didn't even make a list of bullet points like I usually do. I'm just gonna go for it. I have quite a few things I want to say, and I thought it'd be best if I did this off the cuff. So I'm just talking to you guys as if you were in front of me, and as you probably know, there have been some Star Wars Starfighter rumours going round. They originated with John Rocker, and I covered them a few days ago, and they've been generating a lot of outrage. It wasn't the leaks themselves, but rather what was added to them. I'm going to talk about the Rey situation and new developments in just a moment, but first, a few of you guys have actually made me change my mind about something. So a couple of days ago there was a rumour that Amy Adams is playing a former Jedi. It just says Jedi, some say former Jedi, some say current Jedi, but whatever the case, people are saying she was once part of Luke's Jedi Academy, a survivor of the devastation. And so people started speculating, well, what if she wasn't just a student? What if she was Luke's lover? What if she's going to be the canon version of Mara Jade Skywalker? What if Luke and Amy's character got separated and something convinced Luke that she was dead? And so suddenly his exile on Ahsoka isn't just about Ben Solo, it's about his wife. And what if the character being played by Flynn Gray is Luke's son? Now 2 days ago when I spoke about this, I told you guys to not get your hopes up that Amy Adams, because she's ginger, because she's playing a Jedi, that she's going to necessarily be Mara Jade. And like I've said in the past, Disney Star Wars likes going their own way. I don't expect a huge, expanded universe connection like this. But the more I read about the theory, the more I realized they might decide to take the archetype of Mara Jade and create a new character based on her. I've been thinking about this theory quite a lot, and something I didn't realize the last time I spoke about this is how close the two ages of the characters are. Luke died at the age of 53, whereas Amy Adams, and I assume her character, are 51. I guess the most glaring problem with this is they're going to have to explain why she wasn't referenced even once in any of the sequel movies. I'm trying not to get too excited, I'm trying not to say this is definitely what's going to happen, but to be honest, it's a way for Luke's legacy after his death to also live on. It is a cool idea, and even back in 2020, I was saying how I hope the Mandoverse fills in some of the gaps of why Luke was so depressed. It had to be more than Ben Solo becoming Kylo Ren, and this is a way they could go about it. However, I'd be very surprised if the character was called Mara Jade. But there is also a new situation with Rey, one which has emerged after Rocker's original report. Josh at Den of Nerds has heard that Rey is going to be at the end of the movie. The original rumour is that Amy Adams is a Jedi. Her son, being played by Flynn Gray, also has the Force, and along with his uncle Ryan Gosling, the two embark on a mission. This is when Den of Nerds chimed in and added, the mission is for Ryan Gosling to deliver the boy to Rey's Jedi Order. And since this came out, Star Wars fans absolutely hate this, understandably. If it's true, and it's a big if, we've had no confirmation from reliable scoopers. It's disappointing, but not surprising. And those fans who are surprised, and who say this is the end of the world, Star Wars is surely dead, have not been paying attention to what's been going on, because this should not surprise you. Given comments by Kathleen Kennedy, given the trajectory of Lucasfilm, given the way they don't care what fans think, this shouldn't come as a surprise. But the reason it does is because around the start of 2025, we were given what I describe as a glimmer of hope. It seemed like Lucasfilm might have been changing their plans. Let me take you through the series of events. At Star Wars Celebration in 2023, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's Rey movie is announced. Daisy Ridley comes onto the stage. The big headline was that Rey is back, and while there were several movies announced, it sounded like Rey was going to be the future of Star Wars on the big screen. Kathleen Kennedy said it, The Hollywood Reporter said it. Rey was the future of the movie side of the franchise, and fans shrugged, and they said, with the exceptions of Dave Filoni's film, James Mangold's movie, Lucasfilm once again are not listening to the fans, and so hope was lost. And for a good part of 2024, that was the sentiment. Rey is going to be in a new trilogy, she's going to be in her own standalone. Kathleen Kennedy is pushing Rey to the max. But then, and this is where fans started to have a bit more hope, the situation with the Rey movie got really bad. Writers were being fired and replaced, there was no script, Daisy kept saying she didn't know what the situation was, and then they announced The Mandalorian and Grogu, a movie which didn't even exist as part of the slate announced at Celebration. So then the conversation shifted from Rey's the future to Rey's on the back burner. And so even though it was a minuscule change, Star Wars fans who were holding on to any shred of hope were saying, okay, you know what, if they can pull this off, we have something to cling on to. It's not all doom and gloom. And so fast forward to late 2024, early 2025. Fans were exhausted, fan apathy reached an all-time high. The Acolyte was extremely divisive, Skeleton Crew was amazing but didn't get the viewership it deserved, Andor Season 2 was on the horizon, that was obviously very big, Revenge of the Sith's 20th, but in terms of Star Wars movie updates, Stephen Knight had walked away from the Rey movie, but around the same time, late 2024, the Simon Kinberg trilogy was announced, but I don't think fans took that seriously. It sounded like it was years and years away, and then we had the rumours that Kathleen Kennedy was about to leave Lucasfilm. This sparked a lot of preemptive celebration, but then Kathleen Kennedy herself gave an interview to debunk the rumours. I didn't buy what she said, most fans didn't, and the current speculation is she's gonna step down in 2026. But when she gave her interview to address all of these claims, she spoke about the future of Star Wars movies and what was to come. She mentioned the Mandalorian and Grogu, even the Taika Waititi movie, but nothing about Rey. Absolutely zero about what was coming after episode 9. And so in the minds of fans, that solidified the shift. I made videos about it. I said Lucasfilm is finally waking up. They're recognizing that fans didn't respond well to Rey, and that's when fans started talking about the Sean Levy movie. We kind of assumed it was going to be set sometime after episode 7, 8 and 9, but it didn't sound like it had anything to do with Rey. So then we come to Star Wars Celebration, April 2025 in Japan. I know by this point, fans had walked out in droves, but for those of us who have stuck around, who hope for better Star Wars and hope for better days, Star Wars Celebration was largely a breath of fresh air. A preview for The Mandalorian and Grogu, Ahsoka Season 2, Maul Shadow Lord, and the announcement of Star Wars Starfighter. No mention of Rey, we'd already been hearing some cast rumours, so there was this assumption we were in the clear, then moving on. And Kathleen Kennedy didn't mention Rey once in any interview she gave throughout the entirety of the biggest, most important Star Wars showcase of the year. She didn't talk about Daisy, Charmin, George Nolfi, who is the latest writer of the movie, nothing. And so things were looking up. The Mandalorian and Grogu and Star Wars Starfighter were coming first. The Rey movie would not release until 2028 at the very earliest, and I think fans could live with that. But what I'm now realizing, with all of the recent rumours, like I say, if they're true, is that Kathleen Kennedy might be trying to repackage Rey, backdoor her, sorry that sounded wrong, Trojan horse her into an unrelated story, Sean Levy's movie, which originally might not have had anything to do with Rey. But honestly guys, if these rumours are to be believed, it's almost like a meme. Star Wars fans for years had been saying, Kathleen Kennedy wants to force Rey onto us. No matter what, all roads lead to the sequel trilogy. All roads lead to Rey. I was skeptical, and I said, look, eventually Lucasfilm is going to get the memo. But if this is true, if they do this, in a really sneaky and bizarre decision, for whatever reason, they might be trying to force feed us Rey at the end of a 90 or 120 minute movie that had nothing to do with her. That would be the most crazy business decision. It's almost like Kathy's trying to justify why she'll bring her back again after Starfighter. She'll say that because Starfighter's box office was good, because fans vibed with most of the movie, and Rey just so happened to make a cameo in it, will bring her back for more projects. But what I do just want to clarify, and maybe by this point I'm foolish for saying this, is let's not jump the gun. All the signs are there, but we shouldn't just write off a movie that is 2 years away because of a very early rumour, and the movie's only a month into production. And look, I'm not the biggest fan of Rey, but maybe they know what to do with her. Maybe it turns out her brief appearance at the end of the film works really well. And here's the thing, and I specifically want to address those who are surprised by this. Even if Lucasfilm didn't go near Rey for a decade, even if they decided, we're going to divert, we're going to make Star Wars that fans want to see, the sequel trilogy is there to stay. Rey is around during this time. That is unavoidable. It'd be even stranger if there were no allusions to the Resistance and to wider sequel characters. This isn't 2020 anymore. Any hopes we might have had, and I was one of them, for the sequel trilogy to be put on a separate timeline, to be retconned, is long gone. The sequels are here to stay. Lucasfilm is never going to say they no longer count, and so I guess if you're going to enjoy Star Wars going forward, you either have to ignore this time period or make your peace with it. And I know that's really harsh to say, I wasn't a fan of the sequels. There are some bits and bobs which are cool ideas, but generally speaking, it's my least favourite trilogy. But I still acknowledge, especially now with these rumours, and Kathleen Kennedy's insistence on this character, that Rey is here to stay. So those are just some of my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below.